Hello. A very good morning.
Hello. We are just checking the audio system. Please message if you can hear us clearly. Any of the participants, just put a message if you all can hear the voice clear. Okay,
yes,
thank you.
yes, madam. Yes, madam. We are hearing clearly. No problem. It is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
It is clear. Okay.
Yes, Lokhande sir has joined, sir. A very good morning to all the participants and our resource person. Welcome you all to the day 3 of the Atal FDP on capacity building in research techniques. I, Dr. Shruti Zamsandekar, Assistant Professor at Department of Computer Studies, on behalf of Chhatrapati Shahu Institute of Business Education and Research, welcome you all for the day 3 of Atal Academy sponsored faculty development program on capacity building in research techniques. Our today's expert speaker for the session on research in dialysis is Professor C.D. Lokhande, sir, Dean and Research Director of D.Y. Patil University, Kolhapur. On behalf of CSIBER, I'm very pleased to welcome Professor Lokhande, sir, for this session. It's a great honor for me to have this opportunity to introduce Professor C.D. Lokhande, sir, a very distinguished personality in the field of research in science and technology. Professor Lokhande, sir, has dedicated his entire life to science and has impacted the careers of many young minds. C.D. Lokhande, sir, has won many awards and received many honors. Sir was appointed as a Fellow of Institute of Physics, London in 1990, was a visiting scientist in Indo-Polish CEP scheme in 1991, and in 1993. Sir is the first recipient from Shivaji University of the prestigious Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship, Germany in 1996, and also the Brain Pool Fellowship of South Korea in 2003. Sir was a participant in Nobel Laureates meeting in Germany in 2001. Sir has been a visiting professor at Hanyang University, South Korea 2006 onwards, was awarded Rajya Shikshak Puraskar, Government of Maharashtra State in 2009, and the Best Teacher Award from Shivaji University in 2010. Lokhande sir is presently on the editorial board member of Electrochemical Energy Technology, the fellow of Maharashtra Academy of Science from 2012 onwards. Professor Lokhande is an expert member of DST Committee on Hydrogen Production from 2012 onwards, a distinguished visiting professor in Polymer Chemistry, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Lokhande sir is appointed as a scientific advisor to Patent Office by Government of India and is nominated by Honorable President of India as a member of Court of Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Sir has collaborations with many international universities and organizations. To list a few, Florida Solar Energy Center, USA, Hanman Meta Institute, Germany, Korea Institute of Science and Technology, Hanyang University, Gifu University, Japan, Nigeria University, Bangalore University, Nigeria, and the list goes on. Professor Lokhande is an author of more than 700 papers in international journals with an H index of 90 and more than 29,100 citations. Sir has edited 11 books and has filed 48 patents, directed more than 65 PhD theses. According to the Journal of Library and Information Technology, published in 2012, Professor Lokhande has been ranked in the 11th in the list of most productive scientists in material science in India, also ranked second in the average citation per article and fourth in H index. In addition, as per the recent research in science and technology published in 2011, Professor C.D. Lokhande has been ranked 11th in the solar energy research in India during the period 1999-2011. The long list of distinguished accomplishments and awards is a proof of the high regard Sir is having in the scientific community. It's indeed a great honor to have Professor C.D. Lokhande Sir as an expert for our today's session on research indices, measures of excellence. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Professor Lokhande Sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Sir, I will stop presenting so that you can present yours.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, it's been loading, sir. Yes, sir. We can see.
Yeah. No. No. Presentation. Hello, madam. It's okay now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, good morning to everybody.
Good morning, sir.
First of all, let me thank the organizer of this 5 days workshop, which is for the faculty development program for 5 days on the capacity building on research technology. And I'm very much thankful for the invitation to all cyber group and particularly to the Rajput madam. Well, today I will like to talk about the research indices, measures of excellence. Now, in fact, this is a very debated topic, and there is no clear-cut definition of the excellence itself. But still, we have some sort of a discussion. I've gone through the list of the other speakers and the topics which they have covered, and I feel that I can go a little bit ahead. And I assume that the most of the participants are the research scholars, so that I feel that maybe I can contribute in the way that I can talk a little bit about the research indices. Most of the lectures were about the collection of data, analysis of data, statistical methods, and so on. So I thought that maybe when we complete our research paper, and then the question comes where to submit, how to submit the research paper. And I think I can fill that gap. So without spending much time and without talking about the excellence, I show that this is the first slide which talks about the academic ranking of world universities. Now, what I wanted to show from all these slides, first few slides, that when we talk about the world universities ranking, which are the parameters they are considered, and where comes the research excellence in those parameters. So this is a parameter indicators by the academic ranking survey conducted by the Shanghai Jiaotong University of China. And if you look at the points, you will see that from the analysis, we can see that quality of education is for 10 points. Quality of faculty is also important for them. But if you see that the quality of education, what they are talking about, the alumni of the institute winning Nobel Prizes. Even in the faculty, they are expecting the Nobel Prize winners and the field medalists. And at the same time, they are also looking for the researchers who are highly cited. So they want the research quality in such a way that you should have a Nobel Prize winner in your institution. But look at the research output. They're talking about the research papers published for 20% of their points for the Nature, in the journal Nature and the Science, which are highly reputed journals. And then they have the second category, which talks about the science citation, the papers published in these SCI journals. At the same time, last parameter, they're talking about the overall performance of above parameters divided by the total number of factors. So that's how they are going to find out the research academic ranking of the world universities. This was one of the things. Another ranking, we talk about the Higher Education Evaluation and Accreditation Council from Taiwan, but the indicators were a little bit different. Now they talk about the research productivity, where they are talking about the number of articles published in last 11 years and number of articles in the current year, giving about 10% weightage each for these points. They also talk about now the research impact. Now they talk about the research productivity, they talk about the research impact, and in the research impact, they are talking about the citations. That means this university is considering research impact in terms of the citations. And they assume that research excellence is the first time word appeared in this type of ranking, but they talk about the H index in last 2 years. What is that H index and other things we are going to discuss in with little afterwards. But they talk about the H index of the institution, and based on that, they wanted to have the overall ranking of the world universities. At the same time, they also giving the importance to the highly cited paper. How many are there? They are highly cited, so citation is important, and they have included this as a research impact. So research excellence, they are considering only for the H index. Another indicators, which is by the Times Higher Education, THE, which talks about something different now. They talk about the income out of the out of the research done in the university from the institute, from the industries. They also give some importance to the teaching, having their sub-classification as the staff to student ratio, ratio of PhD to bachelor students and so on, number of PhDs produced. So there is some importance for the teaching. But again, they talk about the citations. But now the citations, instead of talking about the research impact, they say the research influence, for which the weightage is about 32%. It's 1/3 weightage is for the research influence. And when they talk about the research, there are many things they are talking about. The number of research papers published, and then how much is the income, and so on. And they have some importance to the international mix. How many international faculty and students there in the university. So it's a three different universities have three different sets of indicators, and nobody talking much about the excellence. Now the excellence has been started by a research excellence framework by UK, where this UK, United Kingdom, has decided to give the funding based on the assessment framework, and they call it the research excellence framework. And here they consider only three parameters with the weightages, different weightages: output, research output, research impact, and the environment for the research. Out of that, research output carries 65%, impact carries 20%, and environment carries 15% of. When they talk about the research output, they talk about the originality, significance, and vigor. And there are different tiers. It's in fact the fifth tier system, where if you consider the unclassified, we don't go for that one, but if you start from the star one, it's the quality that is recognized nationally in terms of originality, significance, and the rigors. So that means the research outcome, what is there, they talk in terms of the originality of the research, what is the significance of research, and the rigors, what type of, the parameters were used for the selection of such type of research. And if you go a little bit ahead, you will see that for the three tier, now they talk about the quality that is internationally excellent. Now they say internationally excellent in terms of originality, significance, and vigor. But they still say that, but which falls short of highest standards of excellence. It means that even in the excellence, they are expecting some different standards of excellence, different categories of excellence. So this term excellence is not still clear. What does it mean by excellence? Now the 4-star talks about a quality that is world leading in terms of originality, significance, and rigor. Now they are not talking about the excellence, but they are taking the world leading, the quality that is world leading. So it seems that the world leading quality must be the highest than the excellence which they are talking about in this 3-star. So still there's a much more confusion about the word excellence, whether it's the final word, and that's why that term becomes the very relative and to objective for everybody. The another was the impact. Now it's very interesting thing, as we have seen in earlier different types of ranking of the different universities, that nobody talks about their impact beyond the citations. But this REF, this is the research excellence framework, now they talks about something different. They talk about what is the research impact. That research impact should have the benefits, and we should increase the change or benefit to the activity, to the audience, to the community, to the constituency, the organization, everybody. That means they are talking about the social benefits because of your research. So impact, what they are counting, which is about 1/3 of the weightage given, is for what is the usefulness of your research, what is the impact of research, how society has been changed, how community has been changed, how culture, society, everything, economy has been changed because of your research. So this is something that is a new added parameter, but that also forms in afterwards a part of excellence. And then at the same time, they have the impact criteria in which they talk about the reach and the significance of the impact. Reach means how to whom your research has been benefited and in what terms. So that is also impact criteria. And when you go for the environment, that was the last criteria for that framework, which talks about the vitality and the sustainability. So they talks about the environment that is around you when you are doing the research and its sustainability during the research work. So this is again related something to that institution itself. So these are the three parameters which are considered for finding out the research excellence in the UK. Now, the similar type of excellence in research has been also proposed by the Australia with the objectives that they want to have to identify the excellence in the research performance, what are the emerging areas of the research, and how we can make a comparison with the national and international levels, and what are also the research strengths and opportunities for the development. And in this case also, they have considered their research in 22 different topics, and they are asking for the inputs again in the three categories. First category is the research quality. Second one is the volume and activity. And now they talk about the applications. In research quality, again they talk about the citation analysis, research income, peer review, and ranking and everything. And in volume and activity, they are again talking about the research outputs. What are the research outputs? And third category was the applications. So now they are talking about the applications, the commercialization of the research, and the other applied measures. So probably the third one we can take that this is related to the society. So different universities, different ranking systems, they have different types of sets of parameters, different types of categories, and therefore we cannot talk anything about excellence. What is the excellence? What does it mean? So we go a little bit further and find some more confusion. That this is again for the evaluation system for the Australia, where when they talk about the research output, they are giving more weightage to the book published, book chapters, journals, conference proceedings, and other material. And they are expecting the research income where from that the input comes from. There they are considering the different funding agencies. And when you come to the applied measures, they look the applied measures only in terms of the patents, then the registered trademarks and designs, and the other things, the other income from the research commercialization. So this is how they have different types of systems they are working. Now this is one more word ranking I got from the internet, where if you see that the University of Oxford stands first, the first ranking. But if you see how they have the system of marking, they have teaching, research, citation, industry income, and the international output. So for this particular word ranking, they use some 5 parameters in which they have the importance to the teaching, equal importance to the research, but research and citation, industry, at least this is related to research parameters. The citations are related to the research, and industry income will be basically related to again for the research, because from the teaching you cannot have much of the industry income unless and until you have some sort of a consultancy part in teaching itself. But otherwise the industry income will come from the research. And last but is also the international outlook. So how the feedback is from the other stakeholders, from the different types of students coming and joining this university. So again, you have some different types of parameters. Now this is a news long back here in the newspaper, which talks about the Indian scientists. And they say that in about 4,000 top scientists, only 10 Indians are there. This individual case now. But even in this individual case, what they have considered here is the number of research papers the particular person has published and what is the citations. Now, citations is something that the other people have referred your research papers in their writing their research papers or as reference in their research papers, and that number is known as the citations. That means that citation is looked at the research impact. How the society, now in this case society is the scientific society, how that society is benefited and how much of your research is being used by those people who are doing the research in the similar type of field or the same field. So that is the research impact. The number of research papers and their impact is the main parameter for such type of the finding of the places in the top 4,000 scientists. The another was again a news appeared in the newspaper. Of course, I'm sorry, this is in the Marathi language, but I will tell you this is little bit about making a comparison between India and China, and telling that the China is taking about 28 times more patents than India, and they have given some reasons why this is happening. They are talking about the GDP, the expenditure on the research, expenditure on teaching and education, and so on. And that's how they are telling why we are behind than the China and so on. So these some type of things they are also talking about. So there are many things that are coming into the picture. Not only when we talk about the excellence, but you should also talk about other things, the input which you are giving for the research also. Very recently, the survey was made by the Stanford University in the last month, in October. The article has been published, and they have made a database about 100,000 top scientists in the world in different categories. There are about 22 scientific fields and 176 subfields in the report. And what they have done, they have made the top 2% scientists in the world, and they also made the different categories, and also they have made the list for the different countries of the respective countries where you can find the 2% scientists in the world. But the criteria what they have used again is very interesting. They are talking about the citations. They are also giving the importance to the H index. They also give the importance to the authorship, co-authorships, and then the citations to the papers in different authorship positions, because all the times the scientist cannot be at the first place as the first author or the corresponding author. It could have some, if it is a collaborative work, there will be only one first author and only, or at the most one or two will be co-corresponding authors. But other authors have to be accommodated in the intermediate positions in the author's list. So, considering their positions and the citations to that paper, they have made the calculations, and they have made the composite indicators of that one, the data which was used for the Scopus data, and they have made a long list, and that list has very recently been published. So in this list, again, they are not talking about the societal part. So some universities, or even in if you consider the research framework by UK, they are talking about 1/3 part for the societal applications. But when such type of lists are being published, there is no mention of such thing. They consider only the academic part or research part. How many research papers are published, how many are the citations, who are using your paper, but whether that paper is useful for the society or not, and that is not being mentioned. So that is something different which we are talking about as a background when we discuss about the excellence. So now we talk a little bit about excellence with this background, that we have a lot of data in our mind, how the people there, even in the research also, there are different types of the opinions how to decide the excellence. Some of them, they give more importance to the research outcome. Some of them give more importance to research impact. Even in the research impact, few people give more importance to the impact in terms of the citations, but other also consider sometimes what is the impact on the society, how the society is benefited, how a group, how a community being benefited by your research works. That is also being considered. So I went to the dictionary and I tried to find out what does it means by excellence, and I got many words over there, and the words are here. If you look at the words, they also show the excellency, primeness, superbness, superiority, supremacy, greaterness, perfection, and so many things. But you say that when we talk about the perfection, we have seen that in one of the category of the research framework, they are talking about there is something world-leading research which is considerably above than the excellence. So they are talking about the levels of excellence also. So if you look at the synonymous words for the excellence, there are many, but when you say that you are talking about the excellence, good is not good, but you have to go beyond that one. That means you have a fair, good, better, best, and still above that comes the excellence. But how to define an excellence? Nobody can define the excellence. There are many definitions, and there are many different types of opinions, and people feel unrest when they talk about the excellence, simply because that becomes the objective. Because every person has his own ideas about the excellence. So the thing which I feel is an excellent one may not be the similar opinion by the other people. So when you talk about the excellence and excellence research, what has to be considered? What should be the criteria? What should be the process that has to be applied to assess research excellence? Now for that, if you have some sort of a panel to decide this one, then also whenever you have a human, they will have a difference of opinions. So how to decide that the research is excellent or not, or how to define the excellence in research, this is also an open question. So at the same time, we also talk a little bit about the work environment regarding research, because that was also considered as one of the parameters in the framework, research excellence framework in the UK. They talk about the research environment. That was the environment basically they are talking about. So there are many issues that are coming about the excellence, but why those issues are coming over excellence? Because now there are some references. We talk about the references, we talk about the excellence because we want to decide something. Why? There are many reasons. Now it's because of an economic crisis, value of money, efficiency, productivity, performance. Then globalized universities, many universities are coming, as you know that we have made a ranking of the different world ranking of universities based on different parameters. Then whenever money has to be given for the research by any institution, what is the criteria by which you can distribute the money to the different departments? Because some departments do well, some do better, some do best, and some departments do nothing. But how to decide that? So you have to define something in terms of excellence, in terms of their output, in terms of their impact, and then only you can have similar some policy on which the departments can be given different budgets. At the same time, the other worrying factor is the decreasing proportion of direct government funding. So even in India also this is happening. So even whatever little the government wants to give as a funding for the research, they are also looking for the excellence in research. They want to fund only to the institutions, only to the universities, only to the departments, only to the individuals, those who are doing excellence in the research. So this term is coming again and again. So even to find out the competitive people, you need to define the excellence. Now there are many trained manpower is coming, and research is becoming more and more competitive sector. So there is a lot of competition even in the research field itself. So in that case, in order to have the comparison between two groups, comparison between two individuals, two universities, two institutions, we have to find some parameters on which we can make a comparison of those universities. So defining an excellence is necessary, but it is a difficult task. And there is no consensus on the meaning of research excellence. Basically, how it differs from the research quality. Research quality and research impacts, whether are the same or they are different. Some scholars think that research impact as a part of research quality, while others note that quality and impact are two different elements that constitute the research excellence. That means what is there, the research should have a quality. So for that quality factor, you should have a different indices. And when you talk about the impact will also have the different indices. You combine them together and then you talk about the research excellence. Now, with this definition, if we agree with this definition, and if you recall our earlier slides about the ranking of different universities, world universities, you will see that those two factors are missing. Either you talk about the quality and very few talk about the impact. Very little importance has been given to the impact or research impact. But when you talk about the research excellence, I feel that maybe you have to talk about the quality of research and the impact of the research as separate entities, and then we combine them together. And when you talk about the research outcome itself, which is not just research outcome, should not be just generation of the new knowledge, but that knowledge should be useful for the improvement of the development outcomes. Now here they talk a little bit about the societal aspect. That your knowledge, whatever you are generating to your research, should be directly useful for the society. So it is not just the academic part, but at the same time, it should also have the societal part. Now, when you start talking about the assessing of the excellence in research, it's difficult. Now, when you talk about the methods, what are the methods for the assessing of the excellence? Then what are the criteria for that one? What will be the criteria? Because criteria cannot be same. For example, what you have the criteria in order to decide the excellence in research, the criteria used for basic sciences will not be useful for the social sciences, will not be used for the art faculties or the literature, will not be useful for engineering, for the commerce, because we have to find some discipline-specific criteria. Because the research done in a scientific field and research done in some economic field will have different impacts on the society itself. So those impacts cannot be measured using the similar type of methods. And therefore, research excellence in science, basic science, could be different than the research excellence than the social sciences. Or maybe it will be different than the commerce or economics. So you cannot have the similar type of or same type of criteria for the research. So basically, probably you have to go for the discipline-specific criteria, or maybe you have to go for the type of research which you have conducted. You have to decide the criteria. Now, where are these criteria used? Now, these criteria can be used for the research impact, peer review process, and the metrics. Now, initially we go for the research impact. There is also a peer review process. Peer review process that the people come together, you can have the experts in that field, and you can ask them to assess whether this such type of research is excellent or not. or you can decide some matrix. Based on that, you can try to quantify the things in terms of which can become the irrespective of each other. So when we talk about the research impact, this could be used as a new dimension to the assessment. Now it is really a good dimension, I would say. It's also a new dimensions, and we the academicians don't pay much attention to this dimension. Okay. In fact, this is sort of a academic versus external impact. When you do research, you publish something, you're expecting some impact on the advancement of your own field itself. But this is not enough. When you talk about the research impact, now the other dimension has to be also considered. That impact has to be beyond the purely intellectual contribution to the advancement of the discipline. That means your research should make an impact on the change in the public policy or improvement in the treatments, environment impacts, public engagements, something like this. So that means these are purely the factors which are related to the society. So your research, whether it's really affecting a society, whether it's making some improvement in some type of societal aspects, improvement of life quality, changing some policies, beyond just the intellectual contributions which you are making to your fields. So one aspect what we are talking about, one impact of your research will be the education for the next generation. That's okay. That's second part. But at the same time, the benefit to the economy, society, culture, public policy, service, health, environment, all the other things which are related to the society, there has to be some impact by your research. And that has been introduced in the UK's Research Excellence Framework, and where they are about 30% of the importance, percentage of the weightage has been given. So what is being expected when we talk about the research impact is not only the academic impact. You have to go beyond your academia and you have to talk about the impact on the society. Many of the things that has to be considered together. So when you talk about that one, you have to consider the quality of output, research output, that will be assessed in terms of the publication, performance and exhibition. Their impact beyond academia. That means, of course, when you do the research, we are a good researcher, that means definitely your research will also improve and make some contribution for the academic purpose. But this is not important. This is important, but beyond that, there has to be important that how your research will be useful for the society. And third is the environment that supports research. So these are the three parameters which should be considered when we talk about the research excellence. Then and then only we can get little bit idea about what is meant by the excellence research excellence. One of the methods was to have a peer review process. That means we can have a committee, a peer review committee, and you can evaluate the research and then decide whether the work is excellent or not. But the problem is that the effectiveness of peer review is too subjective. There are many people that are coming together and they could have different opinions. In fact, they could have the different concepts and ideas, their own ideas about the excellence, and therefore the view may not be a perfect one. The another one is that if you have something, you decide some matrices, something like which I have shown over here as the citation index or impact factor or research indices, then those indices could be the subjective one, and that process can become a cheaper, more transparent, and objective than the peer review process. Simply because it gets some type of matrices. Of course, it is agreed that still these matrices are far away from the perfect indicators of research excellence, but they will give some ideas about citation index, impact factor, and research indices. And if you recall about earlier our discussion, that you see that the research indices, impact factor, and research indices, one of the indices was considered as the H index, that was also considered by some of the university process. But it's also considered in some of the ranking, world ranking for the university. So probably this looks to be okay, that we can find the research indices, index, then we can find the impact factor, and we can also find the research indices of the individual person or of the institution or of the university itself or the department itself, and then get some idea whether that department is very excellent or not, or we can say that department is doing good or bad or best. So when you talk about the citation index, this is related to to a system which has been developed by a person which is known as the Garfield. He got that idea that the citation index can be used as a new tool for the classification of research. So he said, what was his vision? That there are many references being cited in the bibliography, and those citations can be considered as a tool for getting an idea about the research quality of that particular person. How many people they are referring your paper? Probably you have published more than hundreds and thousands of papers, but if nobody is referring your paper, nobody is using your paper, nobody is giving reference of your paper, of your work, then your papers have no value. That means your publication quality, usefulness of your subject, usefulness of research, that also will be reflected in the citation index. Okay, another thing what we talk about the impact factor, that is related where you are publishing. Impact factor is related to the journals. If we are publishing to the good journals or bad journals, that is also important, because I assume that there are many research scholars attending this meeting, and probably when they write the research paper, probably they are asking their guides, so where should I publish? And where should I publish will decide the quality of your research work, and the journal where you are going to publish, that will also decide the quality of your research work. So these factors are coming because at all of it, as a research scholars, we are not going to achieve any research excellence as such in the immediate phase. But we can march ahead toward the research excellence by selection of the good journals. And if you know that where to publish, how to publish, and how to publish in good journals, probably you can start march towards the, having the fair and the good and better and best, something like that. So this could be a first step towards having your publication or your research as the excellence one. So this is little bit about the evaluation of the citation index that has been started in 1960, and now it is well accepted all over the world. Most of the ranking agencies, accreditation agencies like NAAC and NIRF, everybody is following now such type of citation evaluation from this SCI journals, the Science Citation Index prints, and now ISI, and which is have been converted from the climate analytics system 2016. Then we have the Web of Science, and this is just a list how that has been evaluated. And when we talk about the citation index tracks the references that authors put in their bibliographies of published papers. Now, there are many citation index. One of them is Thomson, and they have different index. First one is the SCI Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, and then others for the Arts and Humanities Citation Index, and then for the proceedings. Now, these are all called as the SCI journals, which is Science Citation Index journal, where we have more than 6,000 journals across. So this is a collection of the journals which they have made, and they have their own standard. And if you publish your paper in those journals, your paper will be indexed in this citation. It will be indexed as a citation. So that will appear in this SCI journals, and that will be counted for your citations. If you publish your paper in the other journals, because as you know that, and everybody knows that, there are many journals which they claim to be the international journals, but they don't belong to any citation databases, not for the Web of Science, or not to the Scopus, but they are not indexed anywhere. If you could publish, and if you publish your research in those journals, even they have the names in the international journals of management and something like that, you will not be benefited, and you will not get a due credit, because those papers will not be counted for the citation purpose. So these are the different citation databases for the conference proceedings, the Science Citation Index expanded, Social Science Citations. There are many journals, there many databases are there. In fact, these are the databases which have a large number of journals there. If you could publish that in the database journal, you will be automatically get the credit of publication in the SCI journals. And you know that this is also counted for your promotion. This is also counted for your, for new positions and so on. And you know that such type of database and recognition has been also done by the NAC also. NAC also recognized the research papers published in the Scopus or ISI journals or a database of PubMed or UGC Care or so on. Even UGC doesn't nowadays recognize the research publications made in any international journal which is being started from Kolhapur or Samli or Satara or Belgaum or from Nepali. There are many such journals that they are coming up, where you go, you pay, and your paper is published. So those journals will not be give any benefit to you, not to you, not to your guide, not to your department, not to your institute, or not to your university also. So if you could publish in such standard databases, you will get the due recognition. Another one is the Web of Science, which is the online subscription-based scientific citation index. And what they claim, they have the in-depth journal lists and intensive database what they are also maintaining with them. So either you publish in the Web of Science journals, which is a large number of database, or in the Scopus. These are the two databases where these are the services that is being provided by the Institute of Scientific Information, where we have the Web of Science. They talk about all the types of scientific index, conference, and the K plus Arts and Human Citation Index, and so on. So these are different types of databases, and based on these databases, if you look at the journals and their papers with the citations, now you will come to know why we should publish in a good quality journals where the other people they are publishing also. So the first journal is about the Journal of Biological Chemistry, and even during the period of last 10 years period of from 2009 to 2019, about 54,000 papers appeared, and there were about 16,52,000 432 citations to those papers, which means that the papers which are published in the Journal of Biological Chemistry journal, the other people, those who have cited their work and those who have also published in the similar database journals, is a large number. So if you publish a good quality journal, you will get a good publication, and also if you have, you will also get good citations. So this is a list, it's an indicative list where you can also find the nature and science in the third and fourth position, where there are how many papers are published and how many citations are there. That means all over the world, these journals are being referred by many scientists. Most of them, they refer this type of the journals. These journals are of quite importance, and people refer those journals and also give the reference of the journals for their citations also. Another fact which we are talking about, the impact factor. Impact factor of a journal is also a scientific index that gives the yearly average number of citations that article is published in last 2 years. In simple way, you can find a impact factor of any journal if you have the data for 3 years. For example, we can calculate the impact factor for the Journal of Clinical Immunoassay for the year 1997. And for 1997, what we have to consider, how many papers were published in the journals during 95 and 96, last 2 years, and how many citations were there for those journals. So that can be found out. And from that, we can find the impact factor of that particular journal for the 1997. That will come as the total number of papers published were 34 plus 32 divided by total number of citations were 34 and 32, and total number of papers published were 71 and 72. So impact factor comes to be 0.4. Of course, 0.4 is not good. Why? If you make an analysis of these journals, you will find that how many papers were published in 95, 75 papers were published. But how many citations you got? 34. That means some of the papers couldn't get the citations. Now, some of the papers couldn't get the citations for many reasons. Probably the quality of that journal is not good. Probably the quality of the paper is not good. Probably the papers which have been published, they are of no interest. Therefore, very few people have made the reference of your published papers in those journals. So, impact factor 0.4 is not that much good. But impact factor is higher, and higher will definitely show that the total number of papers published and total number of citations are there. That means if you have more and more citations, then your impact factor will be more and more. So to have an impact factor for that particular journal more and more, your journal should publish the good quality papers, and which will also indicate the standard of your journal. So that means when you want to publish the good quality papers, it simply means that you have to have a good assessment system, good reference system for the papers which are being submitted, how you are referring your papers, and how you are making a good collection of good papers based on the referring process. That also depends. So if you have good quality papers, papers will be published, will have the good citations, and once you have the good citations, automatically the impact factor of journal will go ahead. Now that has a reference to the quality of the research quality impact, because the impact factor of the journal will tell that what is the impact of your research on the society, because they are not on the society but the academic, because they have referred your journal. Now this is a list of some of the journals with impact factors. Just to give an idea, the first journal, these are the medical journals. You said first journal is New England Journal of Medicine. Now their impact factor is 72. What does it mean? It means that whatever papers were published in that journal during that year, during last earlier 2 years, the papers were about 672. For each 672 paper, the average citation was 72, which simply means that the papers which were published were of good quality, of importance to the other researchers. That's why many people have given references of those papers, and therefore their impact factor has been increased. Citation has been increased. Citation goes to the individual scientist, but impact factor comes to the journal. So the impact factor of journal also increases well. So if you say the second one is the Lancet, and its impact factor is 47. So it's not necessarily that the impact factor should be 0.4 and 0.3 and 0.5. You see that the highest impact factor in this case was 72. That means there are certain journals, and if you could publish in those journals, we can definitely talk about the excellence in research. Your research is excellent, that's why you could publish your paper in such type of journals whose impact factor is quite high. So that's how it goes. But the other list is for a list of journals from the biological sciences. You will also see that the impact factor of the journal was 14.1. And you say that all of a sudden the other journals, of course, this is the abbreviated list in the alphabetical way, other is 0.5. So this shows that all journals are of the same quality. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them are standard, some of them they are substandard. So you have to decide where to publish your work. Okay. So where this impact factor can be used, impact factor can be used for many purposes. To select the excellent candidate for positions for PhD, postdoc, academic faculty, academic staff. And this is a very interesting one, because when there is an interview for any academic post, the many candidates will appear with different number of publications. Some of them they have more than 10 papers, some of them they have 20 papers, some of they may have 30 papers and so on. So you cannot judge by the number of their research papers which they have published. So basically you can ask them, what is the impact factor of journals on which you have published your paper? Which means that, as if you go earlier, I'll just go back and I will show that. For example, if you publish one paper in the New England Journal of Medicine with impact factor of 72, and if you publish the same about 10 number of papers in the BMC Medicine whose impact factor is 7, you will see that your 10 papers will have a very similar impact that the impact carried by one paper in the New England Journal of Medicine. That means the quality of your publication will be also decided by the quality of the journal. Quality of the journal will be decided by the impact factor. So impact factor of the journal is very important. So whenever you try to publish your paper, first go to the home page of that journal, find out whether the journal is in the Scopus journal or Web of Science journal, and also find the impact factor of that journal. If impact factor of journal is quite good, and if you feel that your paper can fit in the context of the and the subject interest of that journal, you can also submit that paper. So this is very criteria for even for the selection. So it is everywhere. Whenever you have to find the grant, and one fellow is having 100 papers, another is having 50 papers, but 50 papers in good quality impact journals, and 100 papers with not good quality journals or the low impact factor journals, probably the grant will go to the person with 50 papers. And this is also true. Now, even if you apply to any funding agencies, even in India, for example, Department of Science and Technology or CSIBER, which is also a science and engineering research board, they now only ask for the research papers which are published in the Scopus database. They don't consider the other papers published elsewhere. If you publish the paper in small journals or regional journals or national journals which has not been indexed in such databases, those papers are not counted. So even they specifically write that just put the papers which are published in the Scopus journals. Don't do the long list of the papers which are of no importance where you have published. Probably you might have published those papers by in the paid journal. So this is a very important thing that indirectly or directly this talks about some sort of the research excellence of, or if not the research excellence, the research quality of your work, and this is useful, and this is also becoming useful for many purposes, for the promotion of the professors, distribution of the internal grants. You can use this as a criteria. What is the impact factor of your journals where you have published, and this will solve the problem. So this becomes also a process, a transfer process, because this is the criteria. If you have the high impact factor publications in those journals, definitely those people will be definitely benefited. So this is about this to select speaker of our scientific conferences. Of course, you know that probably you don't know the speaker, but you know his publications and other things. From that also you can decide whether that speaker will be useful for your conference or not, just by looking at the impact factor of the journals where he is publishing. Where he is publishing will give his taste and his standard of research work. So this is also an important work. There are certain limitations to the impact factor, like the self-citation. Many journals ask them because they want to improve their impact factor of journal. So impact factor of journal, how that impact factor of journal will increase if some people give the references from the research papers which are published in that journal. So sometimes journals also insist that if you want to publish your paper in our journal, you have to cite few references of the authors who have published with our journals. So this is a sort of a limitation, and in some of the disciplines have more citations, and sometimes the journals also change their names, and then the problem comes. But there are certain limitations. I think I can skip this one about the self-citation. Okay. Now whether that self-citation is reliable or not. Now you see that any issue have two sides. Now I advocate that this is a very good thing, that just by looking at the citation, journal citation, we can talk about not only about the journal quality, but we can also talk about the quality of the person, research quality of a person who has published in the journal. But whether it's reliable or not, there are certain drawbacks just for relying on the journal citations, because some of the journals are not published in English. Some are published in the native languages. And also, when citation is given, is not given for if you write an editorial to that word, to that journal, or if you write a news item, or you write a letter or abstract, those are not counted, and those are not being cited. There are many things that can influence the citation, such as language, journal history, format, publication schedule, and subject specialty. See, for example, if journal is publishing 4 issues in a year, and another journal is publishing monthly. Now, definitely we will tend to go towards a journal who is publishing monthly, because if you go to the other journal who is publishing quarterly, which means that you have to wait for 4 months to get the next issue, where probably you need your publication on urgent basis. In that case, you will go definitely to the monthly publications. So such type of issues are there, even though that quarterly journal is quite good. This is having high standard, is having high impact factor, but still you go. Now there is also the journal history. Some of the journals nowadays, the journals were owned by the other companies. Now they being transferred to the standard publication houses also. So that also affects. So sometimes we don't want to go for such type of journals also for publication. So journal publication is quite good, but there are also certain drawbacks. Another point, on which we can distinguish the people which are going towards the excellence, will say that there are certain indices, research indices. They are known as the research indices. Now, for research indices, there are only two things that are important. What is the citation? I will tell you again, the citation is the number of times your paper has been cited, number of papers your research paper have been referred by the other people, and the total number of research papers. So how many research papers you have published and how many citations you have got. Now, this is for a given period. So you'll see that including these two things, how many research papers you have published, probably you have published large number of papers, but your citation, nobody has cited your paper. Very few have cited your paper. In that case, your research indices will go down. It will also happen that you have published very few papers, but they are quite standard one, and therefore your citation is very high. Very many people have referred your papers. In that case, your research indices will go up. So this will also be one of the way by looking at the quality, research quality of that person, whether he is doing good or he is doing best or he is doing better or he is doing excellence in his field. So there are certain the indices that have been set. First indices that was set was the H index, again in 2005, and that is being followed all over the world, and this is commonly used by the citation databases, Web of Science and Scopus. Now, Web of Science and Scopus are the only databases being considered worldwide as the best one. If you have publication in the journals which is being from this database, definitely you are doing a good quality research, that I would say. So H index is from Scopus and Web of Science, and also Google Colors also have the H index. Now there is also G index, which is being for the chemical abstract, and then also this for the science, technology, and security. Then there is one more index, the IT. This is by the Google, and also there are other research indices used by the ResearchGate, R index, M index. There are many indexes, but basically the H index, G index, and IT index are commonly used in order to assess the work and quality of any research scholar. Now, what is that H index we are talking about? Well, H index is a very funny thing. Say, if you look at the first figure, you have very few papers. And if you have a large number of research papers, if you have a very highly cited research papers, you will feel that I have very low number of research papers. I have 10 research papers and my research index and my citations are about thousands or so. But you will have the low H index. Because if you look at this axis in this plot, this is the number of citations versus number of publications. That means how many papers you have published and how many citations you got. So that is a plot. Now, if you have large number of citations or large number of papers, will have the large H index. Because here is a large number of papers and there are large number of publications. Where in this case, you have large number of citations, but you have very less number of papers. So in that case, your H index, even if you have a large number of citations, your H index will be down. So in order to have a maximum number of citations, you should have the large number of citations and at the same time large number of publications. So even in this case, you can see that's how this H index is decided. It's a cross point with a 45 angle. You'll see that this is a point. So that means even though I have a large number of citations for those number of papers, and you have the large number of papers having less number of citations. So if you look here, if this is the H index, that means this number of papers, suppose this up to this H is 10, number of papers is 10, and this is 20 and 30. So for 10 number research papers, you have citations more than the H, say 10. Now H is 10, so the H is 10, here also 10. So you have 10 more than 10 number of publications. But your other papers, which is 30 number, they have less number of citations. So 10 H index means 10 papers have 10 citations. 11 papers, 11 H index is 11 means 11 papers have got 11 citations. Like that, when we say that 50 papers, 50, my H index is 50, which means that 50 research papers have 50 citations each. So at least you should have 2,500 citations. And all papers should have 50 citations. Then and then only your H index will be 50. Now in my case, if I say that my H index is 90, that means my 90 papers have at least 90 citations. Then and then only I will have H index 90. So it becomes very difficult to get higher and higher H index because your if I want to move from 90 to 95, that means I have to find 95 papers having the citations at least 95 times. So this is one of the way by which you can also find the academic level of that person by looking at the H index. And this is now it is used very commonly. Now, what are the advantages? It relies on citation on paper and not the journals. Now, it is journal irrespective. Where your paper published is not important. In which journal it is published is not important. What is the impact factor of that journal is not important. You have citation for that paper with that minimum database, then your citation is counted. Now, if there is a little bit skewed by one paper has 1,000 citations, this will not going to influence your citation H index. Now, it is not also increased by large number of purely cited paper. For example, in earlier case, if all these papers have less than 10, if I have 100 papers less than 10 number of citations, unless and until I get one paper having citation 11, then my H index will be 11. Otherwise, even if I have the 100 number of papers having the citations less than 10, will not change my H index. So it will not change. So it can be used for comparing the scientists within the field at similar stage for their career. I want to do promotion to assistant professor to associate professor. Well, this could be a one of the parameter. One of the H index is one of the parameter. Which H index is more will become the associate professor first or professor first. So H index is a very good parameter in that way. Okay. So H index is intended to measure quality and quantity because it talks both quality and quantity of the scholarly paper simultaneously. Who is publishing and how you are publishing. Now, there are certain constraints over that. Why your paper was cited is immaterial. Probably it may happen that your paper is cited, but it was cited because of negative reason. But your paper is cited, so that is counted. So how it is counted, that is immaterial. And then it also ignores the position and number of authors on the paper. Whether it is the first author or your last author or corresponding author or middle author, it doesn't matter. One citation is there, everybody will get that one citation on their name, irrespective of their positions. Okay. It is difficult to get the higher citations. So for example, if I say the H index is 100, means I should have at least 10,000 citations. Then and then only all this 100 papers should have at least 100 citations individually. Then and then only my H index will be 100. So these are certain constraints, even though we have the certain citations, more citations for the other papers and other some certain citations less for the other papers, it will not help. So H index has also some of the disadvantages because it doesn't talk about how many papers you publish. It talks about how many papers and what is the impact. Even I have published, for example, in my case, I published about 500, 600 papers, but my H index is 90. So when I say my H index is IC, people will not know that I have published the large number of papers, say 600 papers. They will say that only that you have published 90 papers with at least citation of 90. Even my total citation is about, say, 30,000, but nobody will go for that one. They will say that you have a citation 8,100 because your H index is 90. Okay, so it has disadvantage. It doesn't give the total information or so on, and it doesn't talk about the time duration. Unless and until you put the time duration over there, that can also be done. But basically, that is also a disadvantage. IIT is also an index, very similar index. It takes the total number of papers by the author for which there are 10 citations, at least 10 citations. And this is used by the Google Scholar. It is very simple, and you can identify a number that how many papers you have published with at least 10 citations. I think the 10 citation, that number 10 has come. It tells that your paper is of little bit also of some significance, that at least 10 people have referred your paper and you cited your paper. So it has some significance, some importance to your paper. So I-10 is also important for us. So it also gives the quality and quantity of the papers. It is very similar to the H index. I-10 index is also important, but basically it is related to the a citation of 10 citations for the paper. Okay. So these are the concerns, but I think this is by definition only the concerns have been come. Again, it doesn't talk about the number of publications, how many publications are there. It doesn't talk about the total number of citations because there are many papers with, say, having the citation, 9 citation, I have 10 papers. Those will not be counted because the I-10 is only for the papers which have at least 10 citations. That will not be counted. Now there is one more index that has been introduced called as the G index, and this is a very important one. G index is an improved version of H index. Now how that has been defined, I am just going by the definition. The G index is the biggest number such that the top G articles received altogether at least G square citations. What does it mean? It means that, as an example, I have 10 papers, 10 top papers. In fact, I published 100 papers, but I have only 10 papers which have total number of citations 1100. So for 10 papers, I have the citations 1100, and my 90 papers doesn't have that many citations. So how can I find my G index? I can find the G index that 10 papers have citation 1100, and my H index is my 20. That means my 20 papers have 20 citations each. That's all. But I can find G index for based on the similar data will be 33. Because as per definition, 33 square of 33 is 1089, which is very near to the total number of citations for for the citations for the top 10 journals. So this is quite near. That means, as per my definition, I have the top G articles. So I will say that I have at least 33 articles altogether at the G square citations. My G square citation is 10,089, but those 1,089 citations come because of the 10 articles. So I don't have to bother about whether my top 10 articles have this. What I will say, my H index is 20, my J index is 33, because this G index has taken care of the large number of citations for few articles. So that is also there. Now, F index is also an index. It gives lifelong. You see that My H index is 100, but I spent 25 years. So that means H index is for the papers which are published for my career of 25 years. So the H index is 100 by total year 25. So my M index will be 4. That means from this also you can get an idea about the activeness and what was the first publication of that researcher. So that sometimes they also combine this M index with H index and give one more quantity, because the M index will talk about the duration of the period, where each index talks about only highest the total number of citations, the H number of citations for H publications. So this will take care of the total number of periods for which this has been counted. So this is also a another thing. There are many citation index they have been appearing. This is annual research productivity index by author. What you do, you find the total number of papers published, total number of books, and total number of books chapter. But everything has to be in SSI number and with the, with good quality journals and everything. And then you have a formula. This formula talks about A number of articles, B is the number of books, and C is the number of chapters divided by 8 will give a number, will give an index. And you can use this index for making the comparison of the performance of your faculty in your institution. Whether your faculty has published articles, you will get multiplied by 2. If they have published a book, then multiply by 5. Depending upon the weightage, they have book chapters, then multiply by 1 and divided by total number 8, because this comes to be 8. So you get a number, and based on that number, you can also make a comparison. So there are many things which we can use this thing. There's also a research continuation index, for how many times you are working in this field, that can be found, and how many papers, old papers of your own that has been referred, because sometimes my old papers are quite good. The papers which I published 10 years ago are still have a relevance, and they are useful for me, and they are appropriate to mention. So if I do that, then the RC index can be found by the number of journal publications, and the self-citation of those papers will give a number that will simply show that I was active for that period, because there is no discontinuation. I am actively working and continuously working in this field. Like that, there is RE index, which is research expansion index, which talks about the number of individual publications, how many people they have used your research work. So you multiply by how many times your research has been expanded, how many times it has been useful for other people, how quickly it was expanded. That number can also be found out. Research productivity index can be found, how many papers you have published and how much money have been spent for that project. So you can find the cost of the project, individually published paper. At the same time, you can find the cost of the research paper published. Because when you publish a research paper, there is a cost of publication, there is a cost of research work you have done. So you make the total cost of publication plus research paper for the money required for the research, and from that you can find the research cost of that paper also. So I'm coming to the conclusion, and still keeping this subject as open, as the research excellence is a challenge and opportunity and threat, because still nobody knows how to define the excellence and explain the excellence, but people can definitely starting going toward the exercise that I would say, because all these parameters and indices what we are talking, they looks to be a relative one. What is the standard, gold standard for anything that cannot be defined? And it is, in fact, this excellence is not a statutory thing or a stationary thing. It is all the time moving. It has a relevance at different places in a different constant. It also depends upon different fields, so it is still an open question. So, with this conclusion, I would say that research it's been not an aid, and in fact, it is research excellence means the impact, and impact means bridging the academia and the working environment. So with this, I conclude my talk and I thank everybody for their patience listening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are now open for question answer session. So if participants are having any questions, please you can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can also put the question in the chat box.
Ma'am, there is one question.
Yes, sir. You can.
Sir, it was wonderful session and the presentation you have explained H index, G index and RCC index in such a simple manner. Thanks for it. Sir, there is one question like in 10 years, suppose.
Yes, sir. Yes. Hello.
Yes, Rahul sir. Please continue with your question.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Please.
Hello, sir. If suppose
Please go ahead.
if we are getting we are having a 10 journal papers and we are having a one citation each in 10 papers, so that would be H index would be 1 na?
Yes, yes.
And if suppose on Google Scholar we put only 5 papers in which we are having a citation like 10 citation in each paper, like 5 papers, and in 5 papers we are not having a single citation. So if we remove that 5 papers, so automatically our 5 papers into 10 citations, so that H index would increase to 20.
No. See, it is the total number of papers has to be similar as the total number of citations, which will be the H index. So if you put only 5 papers, whatever may be your citations, your H index will be 5.
Okay. So, but if suppose in each paper I am getting more than 10 citation for 5 papers, and
It doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's why even if you have a large number of citations but few papers, your H index will be less.
And sir, like you would have read today's newspaper. In that, it has been written that research publications from the Indian ministries would not be ineffective much. If suppose someone want to do research, they can continue, but research papers in journals and citation in journals wouldn't be considered. Like HRD ministries have had a statement in today's paper. So like looking for that, how would like in a future, like if suppose we are having good journal papers, so wouldn't that would be effective in a like promotions categories or like any part?
See, of course, I have read that news, but what it means to me that they are not believing, because what is the journal in fact? Journal is nothing but it's a collection of research papers. So journal is not important for them. So probably what they are looking for, if you go for, I think they are going to the research excellence frame of UK, where they have different tiers, where that is exactly mentioned. If you go to the total documents of REF UK, they are doing the same thing. They are not talking about the journals. They are talking about the research papers. But basically, how you publish the research paper, that doesn't matter for that one. They don't bother about that one, where you are publishing. So that's why even our ministry also started talking the same thing. The journal is not important for them. But the problem will come that who will publish your research there? Who will publish?
Okay. Okay. And so like patents, getting a patent in a research is same like that can also be a partner like research को हम लोग if suppose we are finding something new and instead of publishing in the journals we are like publishing it in the patent, so that would be the good part.
Of course, yes, because that comes out the research outcome. You know, when you have a patent as an outcome of your research, probably that will be useful for the industry. So in some of the industries, you might have seen that even in the I showed a table where this part was also important. It's also a byproduct of your research. Sometimes it becomes a main product of your research also, a patent. That comes under the IPR, intellectual property, which has come, which has arrived because of your research work.
So, but for filing a patent, like we require minimum like 35,000 rupees, like all the lawyer fees and like all publication fees of the patent. It is more than like 35,000 rupees for one patent it costs, right?
No, no. It depends upon who is filing. I have about 50, 60 patents, but I have filed my patents on my own. So you can file your patent on your own, and presently the patent filing expenditure, the fee which has to be paid to the patent office is 1,600 rupees for filing the patent. Filing patent.
Okay.
There are different stages of the patent. There's a procedure, and I think even within the less than 10,000 rupees, you can get a patent. If
Okay.
you
Okay,
file
sir.
on your own, whatever you are paying to the agent as a fee.
Yes,
That's why
sir.
I feel that amount is quite large.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. So please kindly share this presentation like it was request.
Yes, no problem, sir. I will ask the organizer to, and I will also send the copy. That won't be a problem for me. It's not copyrighted.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
At the
sir.
end
Thank
of
you.
the FDP, we will be sharing the presentations from all the resource persons. So there is one more question. Yes.
Yes.
So good afternoon, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
So, this is Satyapriya from Tamil Nadu, sir.
Yes.
So for submitting thesis, here they are focusing on the journal, sir. So that too we are published in Scopus Index Journal, but the journal is not updated in Scopus database. When we go through the homepage of journal, we can able to find our papers.
That's sometimes the journals say that they are Scopus index, but they are not.
So how to find that type of journals, sir? There are a lot of cloned journals are also there with the same ISSN number. We don't know how to find that.
That's why basically you go to the Scopus database. Don't go to the website or the homepage of the journal. You go other way around. Don't go to the homepage of the journal. You go to the Scopus database. Find the journals of your interest, of your research interest, where you feel that you can publish, and then you publish. Because there are many journals are there. They are lying.
Okay.
They say that they are Scopus index, but they are not. But they should use very good word. They say that applied for Scopus indexing, process is going on, something like they write. So we read only the word Scopus and we submit our paper. Don't do that.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Hello.
If there are
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes. Sir. Good morning, sir. I'm from Hyderabad. Yeah.
Yes, please.
In verify email in Google Scholar, it is asking continuously with regard to the education mail something else. Without that, can we proceed for this Google Scholar profile?
I don't know. I don't think it is necessary.
No. Sometimes it asking to enter your university or working email address in that.
Of course, anyway, if you see that if you have your photo or somewhere near to that photo, they also ask for the website, to the website also, the email address also.
Yes, sir. But it's showing in profile it no verified email in the home page showing.
Yes.
So verification is required for that.
I think if probably they can verify your email address. But this depends upon when you give some your email address from some institution. Then that problem comes. If you go any Yahoo or Gmail, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So one more question. Recently, I sent one what we call as an article to the one Scopus journal. Unfortunately, they are not published with that journal till from the last 6 months. Can I proceed for that the next journal, or shall I wait for that?
No, it depends upon right to the editor.
They are
to
not
find
giving
out
any
the answer.
response from their side, I think.
No, then you send an email that you are withdrawing your paper and you can submit to the other journals.
Okay, can we send like
Make
this,
a
sir?
case of that one. Yeah, send a mail in writing.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We will take the last question because we are going to soon start with the next session. So one last question, if any.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, so mostly we are not able to know when the scopus, when the journals are added in the scopus and when they are removed. So once we publish, after 6 months, when we go and submit our thesis, immediately they're saying that now this journal is not available in scopus. So is there any duration to be in the scopus, the journal to be in the scopus?
Madam,
So it is a very hectic for us for PhD scholars.
yeah. I understand. It happens now. It is happening with the UGC journals also. UGC is
Then how
also
can we
started
submit,
removing
sir?
the journal.
How can we submit? Yes,
It's
sir,
very
sorry, sir.
difficult, but for that the UGC has released a letter uh, as a circular that if your journal was in the index in either in the UGC care or UGC or Scopus during your publication during that period, then that can be counted.
No, sir, they're not accepting like that.
No,
When
no.
we are submitting, that
There
time
is
only they are focusing.
no, there is a circular for that one. You have to go. You have to find that circular. UGC has issued a circular in this regard.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are.
So Scopus journals are also charging a lot, sir. They're charging in dollars.
Right. Yes. Yes, sir. That's true. That's true. I think it is as your comment. But I say that there are many journals. If 10% are charging, there are 90% journals which are not charging. Go for that one. If you are not able to pay, or your institute is not able to pay. There is no other way.
But the acceptance rate of those journals are very less, sir. It is 5% or 10%.
I know.
10%, sir.
Yes. I know. For example, RSC journals, RSC advances and other journals, they're very rare. The paper is accepted, but at the same time, they charge about $2,000 or so also. That's true. Yeah. That's why there was some index that how much cost is per paper, where there was a word publication cost. That is the publication cost. So that is already assumed.
Yes. On a concluding note of this morning session, I'm very pleased to propose the vote of thanks to Professor C.D. Lokhande, sir. Sir, your presentation was very excellent, informative, and interesting. You have very extensively elaborated on the research indices and how quality and impact of research constitutes an excellence in research. Sir has also very well explained how importance of citation, H-index, and impact factors of journals are in quality of research. I'm very sure that all the faculty members and participants have taken a note of your suggestions in publishing good quality research papers. Once again, on behalf of CyBER and the entire organizing committee of this FDP, I would like to thank Professor C.D. Lokhande, sir, for giving his vital time from the busy schedule to grace this session, share invaluable information and opinion on research indices. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And to all the participants, we are starting with the next session immediately. So please remain logged in.
I can log out.